If you've got solid insulin sensitivity, if you've got good sleep, low stress, and a healthy metabolic engine, you'll likely tolerate coffee just fine. Is your morning coffee helping or hurting your blood sugar? For most guys I work with, especially those dealing with prediabetes or full-blown type 2 diabetes, coffee is one of those daily habits that they never question. It feels harmless and even healthy, but for some guys, it could be silently working against your goals. I'm Dr. Adam. I'm a naturopathic doctor and a men's diabetes coach, and I help guys reverse insulin resistance by optimizing their metabolic health. So things like boosting testosterone naturally and burning off visceral fat. And in this video, I'll be explaining how coffee, especially the caffeine in it, affects your blood sugar in the short term. We'll break down what the research actually says, why your continuous glucose monitor might spike after a cup of black coffee, and more importantly, how to use coffee strategically instead of letting it sabotage your progress. I'll also give you 5 clear takeaways that can help you improve your blood sugar control without giving up your morning ritual. Let's get into it. Most people assume coffee is good for you, but that's not always the case. You've probably heard that it's loaded with antioxidants, that it can support mental focus and even boost fat burning, and there's truth to that. In large-scale observational studies, people who drink coffee regularly tend to have a lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes. That's great, but here's the catch. Those studies don't tell the full story. They're observational, they're not experimental, and that means they show correlation, not causation. Coffee drinkers might just have other healthy habits like eating less sugar, moving more, or sleeping better. What those studies don't show is what happens right after you drink coffee, especially if your metabolic system is already struggling. So here's what actually happens in your body. When you drink coffee, especially first thing in the morning, and especially on an empty stomach, you get a dose of caffeine that stimulates your adrenal glands. In response, your body releases stress hormones. We're talking cortisol and adrenaline. Now, what do those stress hormones do? Well, they wake you up, so that's a bonus, but they also signal to your liver to release stored glucose in your bloodstream. It's part of your body's natural fight or flight response. The way I describe this process is that it's as if your body is reacting to seeing a bear. So not sit on Zoom for the next 3 hours. So your body is now primed to move, not sit. And on top of that, if you're already dealing with insulin resistance, and your cells are not responding well to the insulin that your body makes to handle that extra sugar. So that glucose can't get into muscles easily. It lingers in your bloodstream. And the result is that your blood sugar goes up and it stays up. So even though you didn't eat any carbs that morning and maybe you skipped breakfast, maybe you're really on top of it and you had an early dinner the night before, your CGM might still show a spike just from your black coffee. But now we know it's not just the coffee, it's the caffeine-induced stress response and your liver's reaction to it. I've seen this play out with many of my clients who have diabetes. So a guy switches to black coffee thinking it's better than cream and sugar. And yes, that's an upgrade, but his fasting glucose still won't drop below 130. He thinks he's doing everything right. Then we pull the coffee for a week and then boom, fasting glucose drops below 110. That's how powerful this one variable can be. Now, let's go back to those studies that say that coffee lowers your diabetes risk. Yes, over the long term, habitual coffee drinkers may have better metabolic profiles. But again, we're looking at population level data. So most of these studies don't control for how the coffee is consumed, when it's consumed, or what it's consumed with. Because let's be honest, most people aren't just drinking black coffee. They're drinking it with sugary flavored creamers and they're drinking oat milk lattes and then they're eating a bagel with it. And even if you're drinking it black, if your stress hormones are already chronically elevated because of life, well, you might be amplifying the problem. So what should you actually do? Let me give you 5 practical tips that these are the most recent recommendations that I make for my clients who are working to reverse insulin resistance. So number 1, don't drink coffee on an empty stomach. I know intermittent fasting is popular and it's useful, and black coffee is considered allowed because it doesn't have any calories. But for some people, especially those with poor blood sugar control, this combo is a metabolic hit. Number 2, pair coffee with protein and fat. Because when you combine caffeine with nutrients that slow digestion and blunt glucose release, especially things like protein and healthy fats, then you reduce the cortisol spike and you give your body a buffer. So think eggs, some nuts, keep it simple. Number 3, avoid sugar, creams, and syrups. Hopefully this one is obvious since they contain added sugar, but these are blood sugar landmines. Just 1 tablespoon of sweetened creamer or flavored syrup can spike your glucose and insulin pretty quickly, especially in someone with impaired tolerance. So if you need flavor, use stevia, use monk fruit, and opt for just a splash of full fat cream instead of the fake creamers with the industrial oils and all the added junk. Number 4, track your personal response because everyone is different regarding caffeine. Some people handle it well, others don't. Some people metabolize it quickly, others, like myself, are slow metabolizers. If you're wearing a CGM, watch what happens for the next 90 minutes after drinking coffee. If your glucose jumps 20 to 30 points, especially without food, that's a clue. So even a simple finger stick before and 1 hour after can give you some insight. So there's no need to guess here. And then number 5, cut back temporarily if fasting glucose is stuck. So if you've been working hard on your diet and your movement, your fasting, and your morning blood sugar is still plateaued in the 130s, 140s or above, try removing coffee for 5 to 7 days. You can replace it with decaf or a mushroom blend if you still want the ritual. I know that sounds way less appealing, but this is a good opportunity to test your dependence on coffee. I do it every couple months. And then retest your fasting glucose. So for some guys, this is the key that unlocks progress in the morning. Okay, so is coffee bad? Well, the short answer is no. Coffee isn't good or bad in isolation. It's all about context. If you've got solid insulin sensitivity, if you've got good sleep, low stress, and a healthy metabolic engine, you'll likely tolerate coffee just fine. But if you're stuck in a cycle of poor sleep, high stress, creeping weight gain, and elevated blood sugar, the caffeine might be acting like fuel on the fire. And if you're serious about reversing type 2 diabetes, I've recently realized that this is one of those small, overlooked levers that can make a big difference. Because here's the truth. There's no single thing that causes blood sugar to rise. It's always a stack. So caffeine, stress, poor sleep, processed food, and then lack of muscle and movement. And there you go. It's chronic inflammation and insulin resistance. The more you clean each of these up, the more control you gain. So if you're ready to take back that control, start here. Be your own experiment, test, adjust, and optimize. All right. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, subscribe for weekly breakthroughs in metabolic men's health, including tips to reverse diabetes, optimize testosterone, and master your diet and lifestyle.